very proud Australian-born Syrian parents kind of guy. I was an Arabic Muslim guy that was tattooed. And that to them was kind of like the modern version of what was going on outside of the country.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Convo couch. Today we've got Hareth Tayem.
Hi. Okay, so I'm an actor, a photographer, a creative director, and I've launched a talent scouting management called +1 Management.
Thanks for coming on.
No worries. I know it helps for me to list out my careers because there's just so many. But Thank you for having me today. It's going to be fun. Yes. I can tell you about everything.
Okay, all 5 careers.
All 5 careers plus a few extra ones on the side.
Okay.
I grew up and I was obsessed with the idea of becoming an actor. That to me, and funnily enough, the first seed of, let's call it creative corruption, that was planted in my head was when I saw Stephen King's Pet Sematary.
Okay, the movie version.
Yes,
yeah,
the original.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, because now there's the remake, right? That's how old we are.
No, but okay.
But yeah, and the reason why it triggered something in me was I saw a kid, a child, no older than 6 or 7 or 8 years old, in the film that was already working.
Okay.
It completely blew my mind because in my head it was like, oh, I have to go to school, I have to graduate, I have to study, I have to do all this, then I can go and get a job. But there was this kid in this film that hadn't even probably started school yet. And it kind of just planted that seed that, oh, this is something you can actually look forward to now. It's something that actually could happen now as opposed to later.
Yep.
But my parents being very religious and very Muslim and very strict, and them immigrating to Australia, it's all these layers. They didn't want, I guess, Western knowledge to infiltrate our minds or corrupt our minds. They didn't want any other influence that was coming outside of their world. I was sold instantly the idea that acting was a sin because you do things that would be considered a sin in the religion, all in the name of film. So you can be making out or in bed with someone in a film. And that in theory, if you were doing that in real life, it's a sin. The blanket statement was God wouldn't be able to differentiate whether you're doing that as an art or whether you're doing that in real life. And so therefore, just cancel that whole career option out of your head. I was an awkward looking child. I had braces, I had acne. I'm an Arab, so I had curly, frizzy hair. And growing up in a place like the West, I was literally one of the first multicultural families to move in. My mother was the only woman that wore the hijab. All my friends were all like these Westie guys, and they all rode their bicycles because they were too stoned to actually get their licenses. And they had mullets, and they had AC/DC and Metallica t-shirts. So that was the environment I was growing under. And to then see this concept of Hollywood, this concept of filmmaking, I guess it was a form of escapism. My dad did a great job trying to keep us from comparing notes with anybody. He would literally drop us off at school at 9 a.m. and pick us up by 3 p.m. And he made and this is all the way up until one of us, each one were up until 18 years old.
Wow.
It's the most awkward thing. It's social suicide, I call it.
Okay.
Because there's this like van that pulls up, this like 7-8-seater van, just to load all the kids in. And we range from 18, at one point from 18 till 14. And no school camps, none of that. So our knowledge was, it was very safe to assume that what we learnt at home, everybody else learned the same thing. Because again, we couldn't compare notes. At home wasn't as sad as I may sound right now. It actually was filled with a lot of information. Apart from the religious stuff, which was constant 24/7, my dad had a personal fascination with astronomy and space, and then astrology, and then the paranormal, and then ghosts, and then UFOs, and all that kind of stuff, the pyramids, the Bermuda Triangle, all these kind of anomalies. And so with that, it kind of obviously overflowed into our lives. And I, of the 5 children, gravitated towards those subjects, which then I became my dad's favorite kind of child. My imagination, I guess, was activated from a very young age, which helped me explore further things, but didn't help my parents, I guess, trying to contain me. I ran away from home. I did this massive, it was probably a very grown-up way to run away, because first of all, I was 18, so legally I could have just walked out. But when parents have a control, you know, you can be 45 years old and your parents still do a great job controlling you, then they went overseas. I went to Centrelink. I was excited about working. I just wanted to get out. And I went and had a meeting with them. And they said to me, look, we're doing there's a traineeship program that's coming through. It's based on the Great Barrier Reef and Hamilton Island. It's a food and beverage attendant. Would you be interested in going? It'll be a 1-year traineeship. I don't think the person could even finish their sentence. And I was like, yes, 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 yes. I just wanted to learn about what else existed out there. After 2 phone interviews later, within a span of a week, I got the job. My parents were still overseas. And they were like, we need you to come and start next week. And I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be interesting.
So that's how you ran away in a grown-up way?
In a very grown-up way. Mum and Dad called. And I was just like, hey, Mum, Dad, I got a job. They're like, oh, congratulations. Where is it? It's in the Great Barrier Reef. Oh, well, do you want to wait until we come home and we can talk about it? And I knew what that meant.
Yeah.
You know what talking about it means.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, no. Guys, I'm ready to go. This is a really important opportunity for me and I'm going to go. And I remember my dad begging me, what do you want? I'll buy you a car. I'll buy you, because he was on the other side of the world. For the first time, I'm sure, in his life, he felt like he had no control. And I wasn't really doing anything wrong. I wasn't running away to join a gang. I wasn't running away, you know what I mean, to do something stupid. I was running away to get a job.
Yeah.
And I didn't come back till after a year, until my traineeship had finished.
Right.
But by then, I'd met all these Canadians, I'd met these Americans, and I'd learned that the world was even bigger than I thought it was. And they'd invited me to come over.
Okay.
So that's when I decided to hop on a plane and fly to Vancouver and to Canada. It was, as Australians, we can get that working visa.
Yeah.
And to go and explore the acting stuff. I knew the X-Files was being filmed there at the time, and it was Vancouver was known as Hollywood North. Found my own little place, went down the main street, dropped my resume off to a couple of retail stores, and I remember walking into a Giorgio Armani store. So I walked in there, I dropped in my resume, and the manager was like, yep, wait, before you leave, okay, do you have your working visa? I said, yep. She's like, no record, no criminal records. I said, no. She's like, great, are you available to start Monday? I said, yep, perfect, straight away. So that set me up. I remember the first day working in there, I'm folding clothes. And this guy walks in with this I think he was Asian. He was probably, I had no idea where he was from exactly, but he had this really super, super abnormally tall Asian girl, like super tall. They came in and he was just this little guy. And I was folding clothes and I looked up and I said, hi, how are you today? Great, if you need anything, just come and see me. Day one, right? Employee of the month is what I'm aiming for. So I'm folding these clothes. And then the guy just looks at me and goes to me, I like your look. And it was very aggressive and very abrupt. And I was like, whoa. And I went, thank you. And I kind of turned around and continued folding t-shirts. And then he realized how he came across. And he goes, no, I'm so sorry. Here's my business card, please. I'm based here in Vancouver. I really like your look. If you ever want a model, please contact me.
Okay.
So I kind of looked at this card and went, whoa, is this what they call getting scouted? Is this happening?
Yeah, like Canada's the place for you.
Right? And then all of a sudden, the modeling world, the modeling life took over. I went to Canada to become an actor. Then I got seduced by this modeling thing. And I thought if I was going to benefit anything from it, it was going to be the confidence that I didn't have. It was probably going to bring all these characters to life that I was warned about. For me, it was a personal growth thing. And I embarked on this journey. Modeling is a character because I always say to my potential students or whatever, I say to them, you can be the most confident person in the world. I don't care how confident you are. There's only so many no's you're going to take before it starts chipping away quietly at your confidence, at your existence, at your purpose to life. That in itself requires a character. You need that character to walk into that casting, to stand around a room full of these gorgeous genetic freaks that their whole body hangs off their cheekbones. And you have to sit there with confidence, not compare your face against that person's, your height against that person's, your build against that person's, and then show up in that moment in front of the client and deliver the most incredible performance that you can, but yet still look pretty. As a model, I know there's a product, and I know that if I get really excited, if I get really happy, if I get really angry, a really big vein in my forehead starts to stick through. As a model, I know that my expressions and my emotions can only hit a certain limit before that thing comes through, and then it becomes a retouching job, right?
Yeah.
Whereas as an actor, I need to ignore that threshold and not even actually acknowledge that there's a threshold in the first place, and be able to do whatever it is my body naturally does when I'm experiencing that emotion. I went to VCA in Melbourne and I did that 1 year foundation course, and I remember the first few weeks was all about crawling on the floor, acting like a child or talking like a baby, and not using any dialogue and only pointing and making noises in order for you to communicate what you wanted. And the whole premise of all that was for you not to feel embarrassed doing any of that. Being brought to your attention that as an adult, the older you get, you understand the sense of consequence. You know, for example, if there's a puddle, as a kid, you're like, yay, I'm going to jump into that. That's going to be fun. As an adult, you're like, oh, if I jump into that, my socks are going to get wet. I might catch the flu. I might get cold. Oh, I've got to go to somewhere afterwards. It's going to be annoying. It's going to be gross. My shoes are going to stink. You know exactly the sense of consequence. So I feel like with acting and with the whole modeling transition, you need to strip all that back and go back to being uninhibited and not knowing what the consequence of doing something would be. I also knew there was a shelf life to all this, because the weird thing is, me coming from where I came from, I always felt like I was an imposter. I'd somehow skipped the queue, flagged the doorman, and they let me in.
Yeah.
And all I imagined was one day when I was in rooms with celebrities and rooms at these parties, and I went to the Emmys after parties in LA, and I was in these environments, I just imagined that at any point someone was going to tap me on the shoulder and go, excuse me, who are you? Who's your family? And what on earth are you even doing here? Get out. Like, that's what I was expecting to happen at any point. I know it sounds really stupid, but it was, I knew where I'd come from. And so I wanted to reshape myself, even to the point where, as an Arabic Middle Eastern guy, we learned by eating with Arabic bread in our hands. We sat on the floor with a spread, with a mat, and that's how we ate. The dining table, chairs, cutlery, that was all stuff we saw in movies. Even though I can see why my dad wanted us to embrace our culture, because coming to Australia, it would have been a little terrifying 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago, whatever it was, because we have quite a dispersed culture here. It was going to backfire. And when I found myself on Hamilton Island, and the first night we had an orientation dinner with all the new employees, and it was a seafood restaurant that I was working in, they laid out the cutlery. My plates had 3 plates and 3 forks with the spoons and the knives, and it was all laid out. And I remember looking at them going, oh my God, I've seen this in movies. How does this happen? How does this work? What do I do? And I remember it took me years. It took me really years to learn how to use cutlery the right way. Even that, to me, is an acting character research. I spoke like a, my God, fully sick. If you speak to any of my siblings, you will see exactly where I actually have come from and what I've actually done on purpose to get myself out of that environment. The biggest one was after I'd come back from Canada and I didn't know how much I'd grown. For me, it was just, I was the same guy. I just evolved and I was in an environment where I was comfortable and I was allowed to evolve because nobody knew who I was beforehand. And when I'd come back home, mum and dad had this dinner with all my siblings. And I remember we're all eating and it's a little chaotic and, it's survival of the loudest is the name of our dinners. It's not quiet and manners. It's none of that. And I remember the salt was on the other side of the table. And I simply just said to my little brother across the table, amongst the heated conversation, "Can you pass me the salt, please?" The whole room stopped. And my brother's like, "Oh my God, please. Look at you. Listen to you. You're so posh now."
Wow.
Saying please. And I was just like, wait, hold on. And they all started laughing at me. And I said, whoa, 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 whoa. How am I being made fun of right now?
Yeah.
I thought I've just spent the last 2 years learning manners and etiquette and how to be nice and how to talk to somebody. And here I am. And in that moment, I realized that was my family, that was me, and we'd gone like this.
Yeah.
And it was okay. It was absolutely okay. Because according to them, I was this posh, weird creation now. But for me, my day-to-day life, that attitude and that kind of mindset helped me meet incredible people, influential people, and people that wouldn't say to me, "Oh, it's kind of like, oh, you've come from the Australian version of the Bronx." Just like in that moment, I fell in love with my mum all over again. And I was like, yes, that's it. She goes, "Okay, well, just let me know when the day comes and the limousine's going to come and pick me up to come to your awards."
Hey guys, thanks for checking out this episode in a series where we interview business leaders, tech innovators, and startup founders about their business journey, insights, and reflections. If you find value in this, please leave us a comment below and also like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Enjoy!